Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Lady Black Kaleidoscope Project. Yay! So, this is the second part of the double header today, because this is what is actually supposed to happen today. Because yesterday, Kamala won, or Kamala became vice president, or became the nominee, and I don't know, a lot of us, it's sort of funny, pause. It's been funny because all the media, like I watch MSNBC and Joy Reid, like yesterday she was like completely loopy and just like so excited. Like a lot of black women, like women of color, Indian women, we've been all freaking out for like the last like 24 hours, like 36 hours. We're like, Kamala, I'm so excited. So my last episode that I did, I was very loopy, and I probably will be loopy in this episode. So just go with it because it's quite appropriate, and I'm going to tell you why in a second. So, welcome back. It's Wacky Wednesday. So, I got my trusty grade 8 against hate. Just in case this is your first time watching this series, or me, or anything about this. It is the Great 8 against hate is basically my 8 C's for becoming truly anti-racist and anti-bias. These are all essential. So we start off with courage, commitment, consciousness, curiosity, compassion, conversation, creativity, and community. And I'm asking you to do this because today, or this episode of today, the second episode of the doubleheader whammy amazingness, is going to be about compassion. Aww, compassion. Ooh, compassion. See, I told you. You need to be compassionate to me today because I'm loopy. And this is doubleheader. So, what is compassion? Once again, got my trusty dictionary thesaurus. So, compassion. Now, sympathetic feeling, pity, mercy. Some synonyms for compassion are charity, commiseration, feeling, heart, humanity, kindness, mercy, pity, sympathy. Let's talk about compassionate too, because I think that's a good definition. To be compassionate is an action, having or showing compassion. And the synonyms for that are beneficent, benevolent, good-hearted, humane, kind, kindly, sympathetic, tender-hearted, warm-hearted. Okay, so that's cool. So another explanation that I really like about compassion is this. Compassion does not just happen. Pity does. But compassion is not pity. Sorry, Websters. Wah, wah. It is not a feeling. Compassion is a viewpoint, a way of life, a perspective, a habit that becomes a discipline. And more than anything else, compassion is a choice we make that love is more important than comfort or convenience. Glennon Doyle Melton. She wrote, I think, Love Warrior, which is one of Oprah's book club books. Yeah, I really agree with that. Pity, it's not pity. And I also feel like compassion, to me, compassion is like empathy, like being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. So let's look up the word empathy. Shall we? Yes, we shall, because this is my show and we're going to do it. So, empathy. I need to know how to spell empathy. Empathy. It's a noun. The experience of one's own feelings. The experiencing as one's own feelings. The experiencing as one's own of the feelings of another. Also the capacity for this. So, yeah, I think I mean, I think they're synonymous, compassion and empathy, but I could be wrong. But I think that's when I think of compassion, I think of empathy. Because sympathy is just feeling bad for someone. Empathy is really being able to like put yourself in the person's shoes, and I think compassion is more than just sympathy. So sorry, Webster's. That's the definition, but I don't always have to agree with it because you don't always have to agree with the definition. You can add your own little flavor to it because that's the way life is. So, let our hearts be stretched out in compassion towards others, for everyone is walking his or her own difficult path. Dieter F. Utsdorf. Sorry, Dieter. I'm sorry that I butchered your name. But it's a very good quote. Yeah, it's important to know that everyone has a story. Everybody has a path. Everybody has their own baggage. Some people's baggage is smaller, some people's is larger, and everybody runs in it. And it's like I remember going through the things that I was going through with high school and all the trauma that I went through the the early part of my life, or just I've gone through a lot, and up until age 30 when I pieced out for a little while. That there was a lot of trauma with that, and oh my goodness, I lost my point. But anyway, I'll get back to it. So it's important to have compassion for others. It's important to be able to put yourself in other people's shoes, and everybody has a difficult path. Everybody has. Okay, I remember my point. Yay! Okay, so something that I was upset because I was like, Mom, like no one. She kept saying no one gets me. She's like, okay, maybe they might not have had struggle at this point, but at some point they will. And the great thing about this is one of the silver linings of this period with the corona and the pandemic and the quarantine. Like we're all in it together. We're all in this boat. Everybody is dealing with this virus. Everybody is. So I hope that's been my prayer and my hope that people become more compassionate and more empathetic because we're all kind of in this together. And we're all dealing with this in various ways and forms. And hopefully, and that's been one of the good things. One of the silver linings. I've just seen so many people, just early on, especially in the New York area and in the Mid-Atlantic region, like, everybody clapping their hands and stuff. Like in New York, they were clapping their hands at 7 o'clock every night for the frontline workers. Like it's just compassion is an action. It's a noun, of course, in Webster's, but we're not really doing Webster's tonight. But it is a verb. It's a verb. You really, and that's what it is. So having compassion for others is so, so important. Especially in this moment. Every moment, every day, you need to have compassion. It's a way of being, as Glennon Doyle Milton said. But I think in this moment, it's interesting because for blacks, we have had to be compassionate towards other black people because of all the struggles that we've had to deal with and everything like that. Other people of color, we've kind of come together in a lot of ways because we're kind of have that joint suffering because of white supremacy, and we're dealing with it, and we've had to deal with it for a really long time, especially 400 years in this country. So we're all people of color kind of united. Now, white people, like, they, this moment has awakened a lot of white people, particularly the younger generation. This is our first Black Lives Matter has been a movement that has been happening since like 2013, 2014, since Trayvon Martin and Michael Brown and all that, their deaths, unfortunately. And so there's been a lot of awareness, and but particularly in this moment, because of George Floyd, because of that video, God bless that person who took that phone, camera phone thing, showing unfortunately what happened to George Floyd. It hit it hit a nerve. It hit something within people across the world because it was shown all around the world. So it hit a nerve. Seeing George like cry for his mother. Mama. I mean, just it breaks your heart. I mean, even thinking about it, it's just like it just rips you apart. So people saw compassion for him, and then, you know, black people, and we were just like, okay, this is ridiculous, and this is, people went out and protested. So, which has been great, and some. I mean, I hope, George Floyd's family didn't want his death to be in vain, and it hasn't been. People have been protesting. There has been just this sense of change. I mean, I know people say unrest, but it's unrest because there's a reckoning happening. Like there needs to be change for the better, and constructive change, and significant change. So that's really important. But anyway, I'm sorry, I'm getting on fire. But I think it's important for black people and other people of color to remember when it comes to white people. It's like, for a lot of people, this is new. This is completely new. Dealing with race and having to deal with it. A lot of white people have never experienced this before. Has never really, I think since Barack Obama was elected, I mean, there's been this, the white power structure has been challenged and it's been questioned, and then it's kind of trickled down to individuals, and especially with George Floyd and everybody being home because of Corona. I mean, it was like right in their face. Like, they really cannot deny that there is racism, and so for us, for blacks and other people of color, we've been dealing with this all our lives. We've been dealing with racism all our lives. For white people, they haven't. So white people, you need to realize that, like, we've been dealing with this all our lives. And it's kind of interesting because it's a very tenuous kind of thing, because I think black people and other people of color, it's kind of like, okay, well, it's like, it's hard to be like, oh, you need to be patient. We need to be patient. It's like, well, we've been dealing with this all our lives. White people need to catch up. Like, y'all need to catch up, So, I mean, it's hard to be like, okay, black people, you need to be patient. Black people, other people of color, you need to be patient with white people. But it's like, we've been patient. We've been patient. We're tired of being patient. We've been patient for 400 years. Like, we've been fighting the good fight for 400 years in this country. Like, come on. So white people, you need to understand that, like, we're kind of in a weird place, because yes, it's nice that you guys are kind of, are being woke and becoming aware of racial issues and racial justice for a lot of white people for the first time ever in their lives, especially younger people. But black people, it's hard because you have to understand. I mean, you have to understand white people that, like, this is hard for us, and it's hard for you. I mean, you want us to be patient towards you. It's like, we've been patient. I've been patient. I've been waiting for white people to come on, like, wake up all my life, So you have to understand that this is kind of, it's a touchy subject, and it's a hard subject to be compassionate. I mean, we have to, it's like my mom has always said, in order for you to be forgiven, you have to forgive, and that's hard. Forgiveness is an everyday choice. It is a choice that you have to make every single day. I've had to forgive, because there are moments when I'm just like, I get so mad when you see another picture of someone, some cop beating some black kid or black person. It's just hard. You have to understand that, we deal with this on a regular basis. This is new to you, white people. I mean, you can turn this off. There are people I know during this whole 4 years who have buried their head in the sand. White people, white friends I know, just bury their head in the sand. I can't do that. I don't have that luxury. I have to know what's going on. And the thing is like, for me, I had to gain empathy for the other side, because my mom, we were raised. I'm a Democrat. We were raised Democrat. I was raised Democrat, and my mom and grandma would always watch the Republican National Convention, and I would be pissed off. I'm like, why do we have to watch this? And I was like, well, you need to know what the other side is thinking. You need to understand where they're coming from, because it makes your argument stronger, and it's just good to know, where other people are coming from, because you can't just be like, la, 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 la. There's no one, everybody doesn't think like you. And then me going to predominantly white schools in conservative white neighborhoods, Republican neighborhoods, I had to hear the other side all the time. Now, it made my argument stronger, and they had to hear my side, because I was definitely going to be like, okay, and for something completely different, and I would say my point. But like, for me, it taught me to kind of listen to the other side and be aware of the other side. I don't have to agree with the other side, but I at least can try to recognize that, like, other people don't have the same opinions as me. And some people you can convince, and some people you will never convince. So, the allies that we have is great. So, but white people, I think it's important for you to understand from us, like, you gotta catch up, and you have a lot of catch up to do. And black people, and other people of color, you need to realize that, like, this is completely new to them, unfortunately, and it's hard for us to be patient. But we gotta be patient a little more. You can pray for grace and whatever, whoever you pray to, you can pray to anybody at all. But just, this is where the compassion needs to happen. You have to have it. It's hard. They need to have compassion for our struggle, which we've had for 400 years. I need to be aware of that. White people, you need to be aware of that. And, blacks, you have to be aware that, this is new for a lot of white people. So they're going to make mistakes. They're going to say things. You need to, black people and other people of color, it's important to be able to discern, the white people and your white friends and allies who are in your life, and to be able to know. You should be able to know, based on your history with them, is like, are they really genuine? And so, if they are, and they've been there for you, and in other ways, you can, I guess, you have to be compassionate, because they're going to make mistakes, because we're all human. We're going to make mistakes. We're all human. So I think it's important to do that. So it's hard. This is hard work. Being compassionate towards other people, especially people from a different background, for us to be, for the oppressed to be compassionate to the oppressor, that's really difficult. It's incredibly, incredibly difficult, and the oppressor, first of all, we need to stop the systems of oppression, so we don't have to worry about oppressor and the oppressed. So we need to stop that. And I think, hopefully, the great aid against hate, is my little thing to contribute to that. So, yeah. So that's, it's a hard thing to be compassionate, but it's something that you constantly have to do. You constantly have to work at it. If you have real interracial friendships and relationships, that's what you have to do. You have to work at it. Okay. If your compassion does not include yourself, it is incomplete. Jack Kornfield. It is. We're all going to make mistakes. And I think a lot of times our toughest critic is ourselves. We're the hardest on ourselves. I know I'm incredibly hard on myself. Full disclosure. Okay, so when I've been still trying to figure out how to do this whole channel thing, business, and I remember I was beating myself up the first few days, because I was like, I should have 1,000 followers within the first week, and 1,000 people to watch this episode. I mean, that's unrealistic. I mean, it happens. I want this to go viral, like, instantly. Like, I have really high standards for myself, and which aren't always, that's not always the healthiest way to be. And I've had to accept it. Like, there are certain things you have to forgive life. Like, you have to be compassionate towards life. You have to be compassionate towards yourself. I don't get this right all the time. A lot of times I think I'm just rambling, and but I enjoy it. I hope other people enjoy it. Hope more people enjoy it. But this whole process of creating this channel and coming up with these episodes and doing it, it's a lot of work. It's a lot more work than I thought it would be. So I've had to kind of rearrange my stuff and be compassionate. And I haven't come out. I mean, of course, my original goal was to do it every day, and I still plan on doing it every day, but it's kind of rocky because life happens, and I'm still trying to figure all this stuff out. So I thank you in advance for being compassionate towards me. But I've learned to have to be compassionate towards myself. So, you're going to get it wrong. wrong sometimes. But you have to forgive. I mean, God can forgive you. Other people can forgive you. But you have to ultimately forgive yourself. You keep on beating yourself up, it's not going to help. So you have to be compassionate towards yourself. You're going to make mistakes. You're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. And hopefully the people around you are compassionate towards themselves and can be compassionate towards you as well. Because, I believe that most people are good. I believe that we're born inherently good and that, we have the free will to make good or bad choices. But I think most people in this world are decent. I was reading, there's a pastor that I watch, Pastor Matt Brown, sometimes, and he said there are very few people who are truly excellent and truly evil. Most people are somewhere in the middle, so they're mostly decent. So I choose to believe that. I try to, as much as I can. And I think that's a good way to be, believing that most people are inherently good, or everyone is inherently good. We have free will, but to believe that most people are decent, I think it helps a lot in being compassionate towards other people and towards yourself. I mean, you should see yourself as a decent person, as long as you're not perfect, you're just decent, just aiming to be the best person that you can be. And you're going to fall short because you're not perfect. You're aiming for excellence, not perfection. There is a difference. So be aware of that. Another great quote, speaking of forgiving yourself, I'm going to read it to you. I don't know if I can continue, even today, always liking myself, but what I've learned to do many years ago was to forgive myself. It is very important for every human being to forgive himself or herself or himself, because if you live, you will make mistakes. It is inevitable. But once you do, and you see the mistake, then you forgive yourself and say, well, if I'd known better, I have done better. I would have done better. That's all. So you say to people who you think you may have injured, I'm sorry. And then you have to say to yourself, I'm sorry. If we all hold on to the mistake, we can't see our own glory in the mirror because we had the mistake between our faces and the mirror. We can't see what we're capable of being. You can ask for forgiveness of others, but in the end, the real forgiveness is in one's own self. I think that young women and men are so caught by the way they see themselves. Now, mind you, when a larger society sees them as unattractive, as threats, as too black, or too white, or too poor, or too fat, or too thin, or too sexual, or too asexual, that's rough. But you can overcome that. The real difficulty is to overcome how you think about yourself. And that was spoken by, I think, one of my greatest heroes and models of compassion. And that is the lovely, amazing, wonderful, phenomenal woman that was Maya Angelou. Oh my God, Maya Angelou is like everything. She's everything to me. Like, there are three people in my life that I look up to the most, who are my heroes: my mom, my grandmother, and Maya Angelou. I mean, this woman, I saw her at the Kimmel Center in 2008. She was honored with the Marian Anderson Award for humanitarian in arts. And just seeing her, I mean, she came out with a walker, and I was just like, oh my God, I totally fangirled. It was like, oh my God, there she is. Like, oh my God. I was introduced to Maya Angelou through when she did the poem, this poem that I'm going to read you on the Pulse of Morning, at Bill Clinton's first inauguration in 1993. And I was like, she just was so eloquent, and just the way she talks, and just her poems are so incredible, and her writings are so incredible. She's just to me the ultimate Black woman. I mean, just the ultimate model of what Black womanhood is. Just someone who's strong and creative and just compassionate. And she's so open to. She sees us all. I mean, I think in her life she joined the Unity Church, which is all about, we're all united as a human race. And her poetry, her writings, just her being who she was, she just emanated compassion and emanated unity and emanated just this, oh my God, it's just like, like Woman Crush Wednesday. I mean, totally every Wednesday, every day of my life, Maya Angelou. I mean, goodness gracious, she would definitely be at my dinner table. Freaking love her. So so inspiring and everything like that. So she just makes you want to be a better person when you read her poetry, when you read her writings, and just seeing her, it makes you love her, but also love yourself, especially as a Black woman. Like, reading Phenomenal Woman, I performed Phenomenal Woman one time when I was in 7th grade, a summer writing thing that I did, and it was just incredible. She's everything, and I think she was beloved all over the world. I mean, she was Dr. Maya Angelou. I mean, I don't know if she had a doctorate, but she was given that title because she just had such esteem. I mean, she is a polymath. She was a polymath. She was a Renaissance soul. I mean, she was a singer, an actor, a writer, a director, a teacher, just a beloved human being. I mean, her spirit is just, she would be so happy right now with Kamala. Oh my God. Kamala. I'm sorry, I'm mispronouncing her name, but she would just be so moved right now. I think of my grandmother too. I think she would have been so excited because she definitely voted for Shirley Chisholm back in the day. But, Maya. Oh my God, Maya. All right, so I'm going to end with 2 poems by her that kind of exemplify compassion and just, this is what she looks like, just in case you didn't know. That's what she looked like. She just was so full of life, so full of joy, so full of, I wish I could have hugged her. God, she's just amazing. Anyway, so, first poem is called Human Family. I note the obvious differences in the human family. Some of us are serious. Some thrive on comedy. Some declare their lives are lived as true profundity, and others claim they really live the real reality. The variety of our skin tones can bemuse, delight, brown and pink and beige and purple, and tan and blue and white. I've sailed upon the 7 seas and stopped in every land. I've seen the wonders of the world, not yet one common man. I've known 10,000 women called Jane and Mary Jane, but I've not seen any 2 who really were the same. Mirror twins are different, although their features jibe, and lovers think quite different thoughts while laying side by side. We love and lose in China, we weep on England's moors, and laugh and moan in Guinea, and thrive on Spanish shores. We seek success in Finland, are born and die in Maine. In minor ways we differ, in major we're the same. I notice the obvious difference between each sort and type, but we are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike. We are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike. We are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike. Finally, on the pulse of morning, a rock, a river, a tree, host a species long since departed, marked the mastodon, the dinosaur, who left dried tokens of their true sojourn here on our planet floor. Any broad alarm of their hastening doom is lost in the gloom of dust and ages. But today, the rock cries out to us, clearly, forcefully, "Come, you may stand upon my back and face your distant destiny, but seek no haven in my shadow. I will give you no hiding place down there. You created only a little lower than the angels, have crouched too long in the bruising darkness, have lain too long, face down in ignorance. Your mouth-spilling words armed for slaughter. The rock cries out to us today, you may stand upon me, but do not hide your face. Across the wall of the world, a river sings a beautiful song. It says, come, rest here by my side. Each of you, a bordered country, delicate and strangely made proud, yet thrusting perpetually under siege. Your armed struggles for profit have left collars of waste upon my shore, currents of debris upon my breast. Yet today I call you to my riverside, if you will study war no more. Come clad in peace, and I will sing the songs that Creator gave to me, when I and the tree and the rock were one. Before cynicism was a bloody sear across your brow, and when you yet knew you still knew nothing. The river sang and sings on. There is a special yearning to respond to the singing river and the wise rock. So says the Asian, the Hispanic, the Jew, the African, the Native American, the Sioux, the Catholic, the Muslim, the French, the Greek, the Irish, the rabbi, the priest, the sheik, the gay, the straight, the preacher, the privileged, the homeless, the teacher. They all hear the speaking of the tree. They hear the first and last of every tree speak to humankind today. Come to me here, beside the river. Plant yourself beside the river. Each of you, descendant of some past, on traveler, has been paid for. You, who gave me my first name. You, Pawnee, Apache, Seneca. You, Cherokee Nation, who rested with me, then forced on bloody feet, left me to the employment of other seekers, desperate for gain, starving for gold. You, the Turk, the Arab, the Swede, the German, the Eskimo, the Scot, the Italian, the Hungarian, the Pole. You, the Ashanti, the Yoruba, the Kru, brought, sold, stolen, arriving on a nightmare, praying for a dream. Here, root yourself beside me. I am that tree planted by the river, which will not be moved. I, the rock. I, the river. I, the tree. I am yours. Your passages have been paid. Lift up your faces. You have a piercing need for this bright morning dawning for you. History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, need not be lived again. Lift up your eyes upon this day breaking for you. Give birth again to the dream. Women, children, men, take it into the palm of your hands. Mold it into the shape of your most private need. Sculpt it into the image of your most public self. Lift up your hearts. Each new hour holds new chances for a new beginning. Do not be wedded forever to fear, yoke eternally to brutishness. The horizon leans forward, offering you space to place new steps of change. Here on the pulse of this fine day, you may have the courage to look up and out and upon me, the river, the rock, the river, the tree, your country, no less to Midas than the mendicant, no less to you now than the mastodon then. Here on the pulse of this new day, you may have the grace to look up and out and into your sister's eyes and into your brother's face, your country, and say simply, very simply, with hope, good morning. So, on that note, be compassionate to yourselves, to others. It's a lifelong process, and it's beautiful. Compassion just feels so good. And it's just a good way of living, a good way of being. And, yeah. Oh, I love you, Maya. Love you, Maya. So, remember, she's my kaleidoscope. She's like my inspiration. So, this whole thing of this Lady Black kaleidoscope, she is the Lady Black kaleidoscope outside of my parents, my mom, my grandma. So, keep on keeping on, live out loud, and embrace your kaleidoscope soul. She certainly did. Bye, y'all.